What if everything you've ever known about human history was wrong? What if buried beneath oceans and legends lies the true origin of mankind?
Discovered a huge ancient city hidden underground in Mexico.
Somewhere between myth and forbidden science exists a name few dare to mention: Mu, an ancient mother civilization, a world erased overnight.
Mu that was still above water, what had sunk beneath the waves from this advanced civilization.
And perhaps the birthplace of a species not entirely human. Stories tell of advanced beings, lost knowledge, and a mysterious bloodline stretching beyond the stars. Could Mu be real? And if so, who were its people? Welcome to Secret Origins, where truth hides behind legend. Tonight, we uncover the mystery of Mu. The forgotten whispers of Mu. Long before Atlantis dazzled the imagination or ancient Egypt raised its first obelisk, a quieter theory stirred the minds of a few bold thinkers. In the 19th century, whispers began to echo among fringe archaeologists and mystics, whispers of a lost world, a vanished land called Mu. Unlike the known cradles of civilization, Mu wasn't just ancient, it was said to be the first. One of the earliest believers in this forgotten civilization was a controversial figure named Augustus Leonjon. A trained archaeologist, Leonjon spent years studying the ruins of the Mayans in the Yucatan Peninsula, but his conclusions strayed far from accepted history. He believed the Mayans were not indigenous to the Americas, but descendants of a much older civilization. According to him, their ancestors came from a land that had long since been swallowed by the sea. That land, he claimed, was Mu. He based his theory on mysterious texts and inscriptions found among the Mayan ruins, symbols and phrases he interpreted as references to a mighty and ancient continent, a place of enlightenment, knowledge, and power. But he had a problem: no solid proof. His ideas were considered outrageous, even laughable. With no maps, no ruins, and no scientific backing, the whispers of Mu were soon buried under skepticism. The academic world moved on, but the idea didn't die. It simply waited for someone else to uncover the story and bring Mu back to the surface. That someone would arrive decades later. James Churchward's testimony. In 1926, a retired British colonel named James Churchward reignited the mystery of Mu with an explosive claim. He didn't just believe in Mu, he said he had seen evidence of it with his own eyes. According to Churchward, his journey into the unknown began decades earlier while he was serving in India. During his time there, he developed a close relationship with a high-ranking temple priest. One day, in a quiet corner of the temple, that priest showed him something that would change the course of his life. It was a collection of ancient stone tablets, unlike anything Churchward had ever seen. They were delicate, sun-scorched, and etched in a strange language no one seemed to understand, except for the priest, and apparently, one other person in all of India. The language was called Naga Maya, a tongue so old and forgotten that it had slipped through the cracks of time. Churchward made a deal. If the priest taught him the language, he would preserve the tablets. So began a 6-year journey of translation, obsession, and revelation. Churchward claimed that these tablets described a land called Mu, a sprawling continent in the Pacific Ocean, home to a magnificent civilization that predated every known culture. He said Mu had over 64 million inhabitants, divided into 10 tribes, all united under a single religion and government. It was, in his words, a paradise. The people of Mu, known as the Nakal, were highly advanced. They were master builders, astronomers, and philosophers. According to Churchward, their knowledge surpassed that of any modern civilization. They built massive cities and spread colonies across the world, from Asia to the Americas. He described Mu as the true origin of mankind, but then came the fall. 12,000 years ago, Churchward said, Mu was obliterated in a single night. A cataclysm of earthquakes and volcanic eruptions ripped the land apart. The entire continent sank beneath the sea, vanishing without a trace. Millions of lives, countless monuments, all gone. To many, it sounded like fantasy. But Churchward wasn't finished. He insisted there was more. More tablets, more signs, and even more proof hidden across the globe, waiting to be uncovered. The mysterious tablets and archaeological echoes Churchward's claims might have faded into obscurity if not for what came next. In 1921, just a few years before his books were published, another man unearthed something that seemed to echo his story. William Niven, a respected mineralogist and archaeologist, was digging in San Miguel Amantla, Mexico, when he stumbled upon a series of strange stone tablets buried deep underground. Over time, Niven uncovered more than 2,600 tablets, many of them inscribed with indecipherable markings and mysterious symbols. The language didn't match anything known to historians or linguists. The discovery raised eyebrows, but no one could make sense of the texts, except for one man, Churchward. He stepped forward to declare that the symbols on Niven's tablets closely resembled the Naga-Maya language he had learned in India. To him, this was no coincidence. It was confirmation. A second set of tablets, found on a completely different continent, written in the same lost language? This was evidence, he argued, of a global culture that once linked distant lands together, Mu. Churchward believed the Niven tablets were written by the descendants of Mu, refugees who fled the cataclysm and carried their knowledge to other parts of the world. These scattered survivors, he claimed, laid the foundations for civilizations in Mesoamerica, Asia, and beyond. But critics pushed back. There was still no hard proof. No one else could verify the language. The tablets were too ambiguous. Some even suggested Churchward made it all up. Yet the coincidences were piling up. First, the Mayan texts, then the Indian tablets, and now ancient stones in Mexico with similar scripts. Was it really all just fantasy? Or was the truth of Mu being slowly uncovered, one artifact at a time? Physical clues in the real world. If the lost civilization of Mu was real, then surely its traces must remain, not just in texts and tablets, but carved into the earth itself. According to Churchward, they do. And nowhere are these traces more haunting than on Easter Island. Scattered across this remote Pacific island are nearly 1,000 colossal stone figures known as the Moai. Towering up to 33 feet tall and weighing as much as 82 tons, the statues are marvels of engineering. Built by the Rapa Nui people between 1250 and 1500 AD, the Moai continue to baffle historians. Their enormous heads, oversized features, and missing legs raise more questions than answers. But the mystery doesn't stop at their construction. It deepens when you ask, how were they moved? The people of Easter Island offer a strange answer. They walked. According to oral tradition, the Moai moved themselves. Some researchers, like Terry Hunt and Carl Lipo, suggest the statues were walked into place using a rocking motion with ropes. Others propose the use of wooden sledges or logs. But each theory runs into logistical problems. The island lacked the necessary resources, especially timber, to move so many massive stones. Churchward believed the answer wasn't physical at all. It was spiritual. He claimed the people of Mu had mastered forms of energy and consciousness lost to modern science. Perhaps, he suggested, the Rapa Nui inherited fragments of this knowledge. Easter Island isn't the only clue. Across the world, massive pyramids stand as further evidence. The Great Pyramid of Giza in Egypt, the Teotihuacan pyramids in Mexico, the lesser-known but equally mysterious Shanxi pyramids in China. These structures, built continents and centuries apart, follow strikingly similar architectural principles: massive scale, geometric precision, and celestial alignment. Could it really be a coincidence? Churchward didn't think so. He argued these pyramids weren't just tombs or temples. They were remnants of a shared legacy, markers of a lost global civilization that began in Mu. As its survivors fled, they carried knowledge with them: how to build in stone, how to measure the stars, how to honor the gods of the sky. These structures might not just be history, they could be messages carved in stone from a world long vanished. The alien connection. As stories of Mu grew stranger, one question began to eclipse the rest. Who were the people of Mu really? Were they simply ancient humans, brilliant but forgotten? Or were they something more? That's where the ancient astronaut theory enters the story. According to this controversial idea, beings from another world visited Earth thousands of years ago. They didn't just observe, they intervened. They brought knowledge, culture, and possibly even their DNA. For believers in the Mu civilization, this theory doesn't just add up, it explains everything. Churchward described the Nakal, the people of Mu, as highly advanced. He said they were spiritually attuned, technologically gifted, and united under divine rulers with wisdom beyond comprehension. Where did such mastery come from? How did they build massive cities, decipher the cosmos, and develop a language lost to all but a few? One theory suggests they weren't entirely human. This idea isn't new. Ancient cultures around the world speak of sky gods and beings from the stars. The Sumerians told of the Anunnaki, gods who descended from the heavens to shape humanity. The Mayan Popol Vuh describes creators who formed man from nothing. And in the Hindu Vedas, ancient texts reference flying machines called vimanas, piloted by divine beings. What if these weren't myths, but memories? Fragments of real encounters passed down as legend. Some theorists propose that the people of Mu were a hybrid race, part human, part extraterrestrial. According to this view, the gods didn't just guide humans, they interbred with them. Their offspring became the Nakal, a new species with knowledge from the stars and a mission to shape the future of Earth. Churchward hinted at this in his writings. Though he never used the word alien, his descriptions of Mu's spiritual technology and divine rulers paint a picture that's far from ordinary. The Nakal, he believed, could manipulate energies and forces we still can't understand. And if these beings were part alien, it casts the fall of Mu in a darker light. Because all might not have welcomed such a union between Earth and something beyond all. If their very existence was a cosmic taboo, could that explain the sudden destruction of Mu? Was the world silenced because it knew too much? The scientific skepticism. As the legend of Mu captured imaginations, the scientific world stepped in, and it wasn't impressed. Geologists, linguists, and historians all pointed out the same glaring problem: no physical evidence. A civilization as vast and advanced as Churchward described, home to 64 million people, spanning thousands of miles, should have left behind a footprint. Yet when scientists looked beneath the waves of the Pacific Ocean, they found nothing. Geological surveys, satellite mapping, and oceanic plate studies all tell the same story. The Pacific seafloor has no sunken landmass resembling a lost continent. The theory of plate tectonics makes it virtually impossible for an entire continent to collapse and vanish without leaving behind clues. Volcanic islands may rise and fall, but entire continents don't sink overnight. Then there's the problem of the Nakal tablets. Churchward was the only person who ever claimed to have seen them. He never presented them for peer review, never provided photographs, and never allowed other experts to verify their existence. To scientists, that made his story unverifiable, a tall tale without a trail. Linguists also weighed in. Churchward said that the Naga Maya language was the root of many modern languages, but no connections could be traced. Languages like Sumerian, Egyptian, and Mayan each developed independently, with no link to a single mother tongue. To mainstream science, Mu is a case of creative speculation, a blend of misunderstood archaeology, wild interpretation, and imaginative storytelling. Without hard data, fossils, ruins, and dated artifacts, Mu remains a myth. Still, myths often persist for a reason. The story didn't fade. Instead, it evolved. Because even if Mu wasn't real in the way Churchward believed, something about it still feels familiar, like a forgotten memory tugging at the edge of history. The symbolism or truth? If science dismisses Mu as fantasy, why does the legend refuse to die? Some researchers suggest that Mu might not be a literal lost continent, but rather a misinterpreted truth, a symbolic echo of real, ancient events. One theory points to Sundaland, a vast landmass in Southeast Asia that was partially submerged after the last ice age, around 12,000 years ago. The timing matches Churchward's account. Could the story of Mu be a distorted memory of a real place that suffered a real catastrophe? Others believe Mu is the product of mistranslation. Remember Augustus Leonjon? Some historians think he may have misunderstood Mayan texts that referenced a mythical origin place called Mu, not a continent, but a spiritual homeland like Eden or Avalon. The tale of Mu's destruction, earthquake, volcanic eruptions, and sudden floods also mirrors real cataclysms in ancient history. Civilizations have been erased before. Doggerland, a landmass once connecting Britain to mainland Europe, was swallowed by rising seas. Myths of lost lands exist in nearly every culture, from Atlantis in the west to Kumari Kandam in the east. So maybe Mu isn't one specific place. Maybe it's a composite myth woven from multiple real events across time and geography, passed down through generations, layered with symbolism, and eventually shaped into legend. In that sense, Mu might still be real, not as a sunken continent, but as a collective memory. Our ancient ancestors were trying to make sense of devastating loss, technological mystery, and origins they themselves didn't fully understand. The story of Mu lingers, half legend, half mystery. Was it a forgotten civilization wiped away by time? A misunderstood message from ancient ancestors? Or something far more otherworldly? We may never know. But the clues scattered across the globe, from silent statues to forbidden texts, keep calling us back. What if the truth has always been buried, not under the ocean, but inside our collective memory? So now we ask you, do you believe in Mu? Let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this journey into the unknown, like, subscribe, and stay curious. Until next time.